Hello and welcome to episode 6 of The Road to Cheltenham. And what we thought was going to be a quiet little show after the weekend has erupted into plenty of news to look back on. And of course, what has come out today. By the way, just to let you know, we are now non-run and no bet on all 28 Cheltenham Festival races here at Betfred. So have a bet on any horse in any race. And if they do not line up, you will get your money back either in your account or cash over the counter. Yes, Joel.
I placed a bet on Allaho at 7-4. May I get my money back?
If it was not before 9 o'clock this morning, then no. And I'm pretty sure it wasn't at that price. So that is the first topic of conversation. We'll look at back of because what happened at Warwick at the weekend and at Newbury and over in Ireland as well. But that is the first big topic of news, of course, from the world of races. The Allaho. We'll start with you then, Joel. Sadly out of the Ryanair, the reigning champion. He was odds on at the time. Of course, this makes it a real wide open contest now. We've got probably 2 clues, one in England, one in Ireland this weekend, in what is a wide open Ryanair.
Yeah, it sounds painful. Abdominal bleeding off the critical list, but best wishes to Allaho and get back to the track soon, Cock. But you look at the top 3 in that market now. I mean, this is going to change after the weekend anyway. Faga Dudary, Pindorti, and Shiskin. Nicky Henderson, as we speak, is doing his open day, his media press day. I know you can only see videos on your phone. They haven't made it brilliant yet, so you can pop out the screen. But that horse looks unbelievable, just through those pictures and videos. And Nicky sounds, he's not gonna play it down, but he sounds more confident than I've ever heard him sound. And just looking through some of Shiskin's, I think he will go for the Q card route. The Betfair Chase Ascot on Saturday, and then go on to win the Ryanair. I think Q-Card did that in 2013. And as we know, he's got a tendency to jump left, which won't be a problem going around Cheltenham. So I think at this point, if you fancy Shiskin, today is the day to put your cash down. Or I think it was early this morning. And if you fancy him for the weekend, I think still now is the time to get your money down for the big one.
We were having a conversation in the office before about what might go favourite now for the Ryanair, Frankie. And if Shiskin, even if he just runs well at the weekend, he could be the one that you'd imagine that the crowd really will get behind. Allo out of the equation is the horse that most likely to latch onto, and he could easily go off market leader for the Ryanair.
I think so, yeah. His credentials in the past put him right up there. He's just had that one dodgy run in the Tingle Creek. So it's great if we see him, run well, and he looks like the force of old. There's no reason why he shouldn't go off favourite, really, for me. Fakir's always been the horse that's pretty much followed Allaho home. Conflated fell in the race last year. Whether it goes Gold Cup or here, I'd be quite excited if that turned up in the Ryanair. They'd be the 3 for me: Fakir, Shishkin, and Conflated. But yeah, like you said, if Shishkin runs well and he looks, if he jumps well, if he travels nicely, I think he'd be the right favourite for me. Because before the Tingle Creek, he's done everything that he could to win a race like this.
Are we in danger now of getting horses from the Gold Cup? But I mean, looking towards the head of the market, the Gold Cup, they're real stout stayers, or anything in the Champion Chase, any of the outsiders could easily throw their hat into the ring for the Ryanair. And this could be a real big field, wide open race.
Yeah, I'm actually, it's frustrating because Allaho's such a great horse, and it would have been good to see him. But the whole season, everyone's kind of been saying, well, if Allaho is fit, then he should go and win this. And I haven't even really looked at the Ryanair that much because that's been my opinion. If Allaho turns up, then it's a bit of a non-bet. He's not, and now we've got a race on our hands. So yeah, I mean, with the news this morning, I'm sure a few people will be kind of thinking we might have a crack at this because the Gold Cup and the Champion Chase were already competitive enough.
Yeah, Joel, horses like Conflated, Fury Road, Funambule, Savoda may even just throw the hat into the 2.5 mile ring.
Yeah, Brave Man's Game hasn't got an entry for the Ryanair. That was a surprise. I thought they'd be flip-flopping straight across here. Hasn't got an entry for that. And if this had happened a few weeks ago, as soon as my Allaho ticket has gone to the dogs, I would have loved it. A Mullins special if Mullins has switched Galopin de Champs over to the Ryanair. There's a lot of people who are like, I'm 12, 14s, 20 to 1 for the Ryanair. He won't run there. Imagine if that had happened. But no, I think the standout one for that will be Conflated. It makes sense to me, doesn't it? It makes
That's
sense.
Real speed when winning the Irish Gold Cup, didn't it?
Yeah. And Davey will probably make that decision. He would say, because he's over and out before he comes back again. So he would say, no, I want the winner. And Davey loves the cash. He loves the winners. So if this is more a penalty kick for Davey, then pop him over here.
Yeah, it was interesting. A lot of water going to the bridge there, and say 2 big trials for that this weekend. With best wishes to Allaho. Say out with that abdominal bleed. Fingers crossed we do get the team on a track soon. Right. Weekend. There's only one place we can start. It was supposed to be a hop, skip, and a jump around Warwick and a 2-horse race for Jonbon. Didn't quite develop like that, Frankie. Harry Skelton threw down the gauntlet. Lots of hearts in mouths, both at Warwick and in Lambourne. He came through unscathed. He's still unbeaten over the fences. We weren't impressed. You pushed him out to 7-4 for the Arkle.
Oh, yes. Even at the time, I don't think panic's the right word, and I definitely don't think Aidan Coleman panicked. He knew what horse he had underneath him, and I've watched it back a few times. And the Scouting just had a bit of a crack, tried to take advantage and, kick on sooner than maybe Aidan was expecting. Aidan hasn't had to use the whip. If you watch when the other horse comes past him, there's not a moment of panic, I don't think. He still was kind of cruising, nursing along, does what he needs to win. And I really don't think that was much of a race. For as much as people are throwing their arms in the air and saying, oh my God, this can't win an Arkle, don't think that was hard work at all for Jonbon. I think Aidan's been very clever there, done what he's needed to do to win the race. Nicky said he left a bit of condition on him, and he always does that with his horses for Cheltenham. He's like the one trainer that, will tune one right up for Cheltenham. I'm not panicking. And I don't think that's as a result of us saying Jonbon win the Arkle before the race. I'm really not. I don't think you've got to worry too much. It's just how a 2-horse race panned out. And they are funny races when you have a 2-3 runner race. And like I said, Aidan looked cool for me, and he did what he needed to do. So no panic here.
All right, Joel, what's your opinion? I mean, there's 2 ways of looking at it. He's had a tougher race than he probably would have wanted or should have had. However, it'll certainly put a bit of extra match fitness on him.
Yeah, I was really hoping that Frankie was going to say, "Oh, it's all over. Oh no, what's happening here?" I'm agreeing with him. I'm absolutely not worried at all. It's a copy and paste to what Frankie said. Look, it was Warwick on tacky ground. We could have watched that 16-1 on shot with Calico behind, just sitting there and hoping that something goes wrong with with Jonbon, meaning misses one out or was take a tumble or something like that. And what spectacle is it? I think it was 8 out that Harry decided to hang on. He's just made a mistake here. I'll have a go at 8 out. It makes it exciting for the owners, makes it exciting for, hello, what's that? The people on the machine putting it out to 3-1. I wish I'd been near it. 3-1. I never, ever had a panic there. And as Frankie said, Aidan didn't go for the stick at any time. And I think it's a positive because it's good to show that Jonbon needs to find something off the bridle. Because these last couple of races, he's just been allowed to do what he wants. So at least it's not a hard race, to be fair. What did he win by? 4. And there's 2 sides of this. People going, oh, I'd like to see him beat Calico by further than that. But, if he was 80, 90% fit, it's been trained for 1 race from last year, 1 race. And I have no panic at all. And I'll be loading up the wheelbarrow now, no runner, no bet. And I'll be getting some of that 7-4, 100%.
Neither of you worried about him slightly jumping right?
Not at all.
That'd be your only hole you could pick, but hey, he's gone around Cheltenham well enough behind Constitution Hill, and he's looked very slick, and I don't think they'd be worried.
Did he not? I say, Frankie, did you see the pictures on Twitter last night? I mean, was it confirmed that Jonbon had it's quite a deep gash on his back leg? It wasn't from a trusted source, so I'm not putting it out there as it's not like Lydia Heslop or something. I think it was, Dave needs winners or something on Twitter. So that was up there. It's not confirmed, but I was looking for an excuse, to be fair, if he jumped slightly right. But no, very happy.
Okay, move on then. Probably one of the performances of the weekend, probably one of the performances of the season so far, certainly in the training ranks. Charles Burns to get a blazing Khal to win 16 months off the track. Quite weak in the market, but he was very strong in the finish in the Boyne Hurdle. Now, this form, beating meet and greet by 3 lengths, compares favourably to Home by the Lee beating the same horse by 3.5 over Christmas. Blazing Khal, your new 5-2 favourite for the stayers, Joel.
Yeah, Charles Burns, by the way, is now Boris Johnson. The horse was injured. Then he was 50-50 for Cheltenham. Then had a setback. Got entered, got declared, and hacks up in this race. First of all, I do think Philip Burns is a tremendous jock. Tick his box. Travelled brilliantly. 2.5 miles. Went through the line strong. We'll get the 3 miles. And like you just said, home by the Lee, same horse that beat Meet and Greet last time. Probably looks about 80-90% fit. I just was very, very impressed. I think the bookies have over-egged the pudding on, was it 5-2 or something like that. I think that's a little bit of nice to see your lad as well, Delta Work, having a little run out the back there, Frankie.
Little skip round.
Yeah, a little skip round, and sent Sam looking like he was no good. Just kept pulling. But I was really impressed. But I'm not sure I've gone over the top like the bookies at 5-2 or whatever the price is now. But very impressed either way.
You imagine a come on for it, Frankie. Obviously, there's always that dreaded bounce factor. But if he's there and he's unscathed, we know he acts around Cheltenham. We know he stays. He's favourite. He's a huge player.
Yeah, he is. Obviously ran really well and did the job nicely. And I think you can kind of see this two ways. If a horse has so much time off track and then comes back and wins like it does, you can think, Jesus, this horse could maybe have even more in the tank. Or does it worry that Cheltenham comes a bit soon? For me, it does. He hasn't had the same season that they'd have liked, and he definitely hasn't had the right prep that you'd like for a Cheltenham runner compared to some of the others that have, done their racing a bit sooner on and now can be fully prepped for Cheltenham. I don't think that's a tick in the box. For me, he's ran well. It's a great training performance to get him to go and win that race, but Cheltenham still remains a question mark. And I hate to admit it, but I agree with Joel again. Very impressive, but bookies have got carried away. I think, Tia Hoopu, Home by the Lead, even Marie's Rock might have a crack there. Flooring Porter, last 2 years winner. All of these horses deserve their shot the same, if not, in my opinion, more so than Blazing Khal. He deserves to shorten up. He deserves to be in the mix, but there's too many question marks for him to be favourite with Cheltenham coming so soon for me.
Okay, then. Impressed, but short enough fit in the market at 5-2 Blazing Khal. Staying in Ireland, the race before that was a 2-mile listed novice hurdle, Hunter's Yarn. Quite impressive, good engine. Another one for Mullins in the Supreme. He's got Facile Vega in Pere Pass, or the Gaelic Warrior maybe. He's got so many options, but he's nominated this race, the Supreme, for Hunter's Yarn. I was taken with him, but I was a bit worried about his jumping, Frankie.
Yeah, I like this performance though. I know he didn't jump that well, but you'd hope it'll improve and sharpen up a little bit, and maybe even with a bit more of a race if they go a bit quicker.
I think that's interesting you make that, because 3 out and 2 out, he pinged when they were quickly up, and obviously he got messy at the last when Paul Town let him pop it. But yeah, at pace, 3 out and 2 out, he jumped well. So that's what I'm hanging on to, because I was taking the performance as well. Just a few sloppy jumps, which he needs to rectify. Yeah,
exactly that. You've got to jump well to get around, the Supreme's quick. And you've got to take each hurdle pretty well and continue, on a good stride. But I think a bigger field, a faster pace, should hopefully sharpen him up a bit for that. And I was really impressed. I think this is probably one of the most eye-catching performances. We'll talk about Lucia as well. The pair of them, I think, over the weekend for me stood out the most. And in a wide-open Supreme, to have Willie come out and say, that's where we're going. I always like the horses that we see as well of Willie's that you see a little bit later on in the season, not the ones that are talked about right at the start of the season or from last year, the ones that crop up about this time of year and then go to the Supreme. He seems to have a habit of those ones performing best. So to see a really impressive performance like that, and for him to come out and say, we're going to the Supreme, I was quite impressed, with Hunter's Yarn. I think it's definitely one to take note of.
Yeah, me too. And I guess Darryl Jacob will be on board in the Supreme, Joel.
I would have thought so. But when you did say, all roads lead to the Supreme, if it's okay with the owners. But, imagine you being the owner and telling Willie that you're wrong. They've
had a good few, they're having a bit of success, aren't they, as well?
Well, they've got Imperi Pass, haven't they? Which I think is going to go Ballymore.
So I think it's starting to go into place now, but as we know in Mullins, you can shake them all up and do it again. Obviously, Hunter's Yarn has blown his mark for the county, so that's gone. I just think, look, with Facile Vega now looks beatable or will not go, everyone's now going, Supreme. Here we are, Supreme. I tell you what, do you see the eye catcher in that race? I thought I was the only one who spotted it. But it was actually trending on Twitter, the JP horse.
Is that the way you're thinking?
Yeah. Getting in the fourth run. Was it rated 137 or something? Is the Irish mark? I love it when I think I've got one. But you just look on Twitter and it's number 7 trending in the world. Yeah.
That'll nudge up the handicap a few as well when it comes over.
Yes, I've had a lot this morning. He's in. I don't know which one it is. It's the county of the Coral Cup. I can't remember, but he's market leader for one of them.
I was looking at Martin Pipe this morning, 137. I was like, well, yeah, as soon as you tell me where that horse is going, that's where the green and the gold. I've got the pens ready. That's the one.
Hunters, John, then we taken?
Yeah, but I needs to brush up the jumping, as you said. But later on in the race, when Jocks just asked him to pop him, I was impressed. I'll be honest with you, it wouldn't be for me in the Supreme. I don't think that would be. I don't think it would be particularly good enough. But the further the race went on, the more impressed I was. What price? What price is John?
8 to 1 from 33s.
What price have we got Facile Vega at now?
11 to 4.
Could you have a bet on that, Joe?
No one to know bet.
Well, I don't think Facile Vega will go anyway. And if it goes, it gets beat now. So,
right.
No, I couldn't.
What about, you saw HULLNBACK win at Warwick very easily. I mean, he's an English raider, so probably got no chance. But we clipped him to 33s as well, making all zipping round Warwick. Now, he's beaten the me in line. He was third in a Tolworth. So is he worth throwing his hat into the ring at a price?
Well, he's got that price because he is British, as you alluded to. Is it 9.5 lengths won by Maydor? The only little mistake was at the last. Did what he had to do. I think he was 4.9 or 2 to 5 or something like that. Couldn't have done it anymore. I would say he couldn't have done it any better. He could have not tried the last, but I'll be honest with you. Did everything fine for me. But it's something. If you're looking down for a British horse, then that's your big price pick at what 33s, clips up from 40s. But it won't be for me, I tell you.
Okay, right, not for you then. Right, let's move on to the Mares' Hurdle because
yes,
I'm loving this race. Now we didn't get to see Love Envoy this weekend, sadly, at Warwick. But every time you open the paper, another horse is throwing his hat into the ring. Now, Honeysuckle, 2-time champion hurdler, is going here. It looks like Epitome, a champion hurdle winner, is going here. The last 2 champion hurdle winners coming here for the Mares' Hurdle. Love Envoy looks like obviously he's going to join them. She's going straight there. We've got Marie's Rock in there. And now the news that Brandy Love has been bought by the Donnellys. This is quickly making up to become one of the races of the festival, Frankie.
It is, yeah. We've got people talking about whether this race should be run or not, but as we're looking at it, it is probably one of the most exciting races that we've got. It's interesting, isn't it? I mean, you've got Honeysuckle and Epitome. They've obviously faced each other before in the champion hurdle, and Honeysuckle has gone, I think, 3.5 clear. And I don't think either of those horses have declined. I think they are still as good as ever. Just new horses have come onto the scene in State Man and Constitution Hill and beat both those. So we've got a very similar race there. Brandy Love being bought by Donnellys makes it interesting, and Joel's been telling us for weeks that that's the horse that everybody's talking about in Ireland, and now being purchased ahead of the festival. That gets a bit more exciting. Love Envoy, I don't think I could throw into the mix with Honeysuckle and Epitome, if I'm honest. Although she's been brilliant, she's very solid. She always runs, a good race. I don't think she can compete at the top. And then Marie's Rock, they are undecided. For me, could Henderson have Lucia in the Mares Novice, Epitome in the Mares, and Marie's Rock in the Stayers? Wouldn't be a bad way to attack those 3 races. But he could do any of that depending on what's in the old glass. I think I'm going to put. I thought I'd put him in the. I put a boy in a girls' race. They won't know. We'll just geld him. So in short, I think it's a cracking race, and it's between Honeysuckle and Epitome because I don't think either of those are on the decline. And to be honest, I hope and I think Honeysuckle will win this.
There you are then, Honeysuckle. Say 2 champion hurdlers, Joel. Love Envoy at Cheltenham Festival winner. Brandy Love, the talking horse, as you mentioned. Marie's Rock, a Grade 1 winner, of course, as well. Beating Epitome at Punchestown last year. Even if it's just them 5, it's a cracker, but there'll be more thrown in the mix as well.
Well, I think so. You might as well all have a go now. Looking around, looking in your field, trying to find a mare, that's eligible to run. I think Brandy Love was last April. And it was Fairy House, wasn't it? After smashing Love Envo by 9-10 lengths, something like that. And like I said to you, anybody that you speak to who's connected with horses, or because everybody knows somebody in Ireland, don't they, who's a trainer or a jockey or whatever it is. Brandy Love is the one, along with Galopin de Champs. They're not wrong with one of them, and they're not too far wrong either with Brandy Love, I think. And I think the clue coming in there, the big cash, because they need a replacement for Melon. So Brandy
Your
Love,
favourite horse.
Yeah, my favourite horse. So Brandy Love, it looks what if you've not had a bet at the Cheltenham Festival this year, this is one watch and go, this is gonna be brilliant. This is gonna be great. And like Frankie said, so many people didn't want this race to run, to happen. But no, I'm very, very, very excited. But Honeysuckle, heart, head, always get it wrong. But for me,
I think you can have the heart and the head, though, can't you? For Honeysuckle in the mares, why wouldn't you?
Yeah,
ran a great race in second over in Ireland. I think it makes sense.
But no, I'm gonna go that day. I'm be crying either way. So we'll see what happens.
That's nothing to do with the racing.
Yeah, it's the cheap house red wine they give you.
Right, just sticking with the mares quickly, then we'll wrap up the rest of the weekend. Lucia, you mentioned it earlier, Frankie, very impressive at Exeter. Again, maybe just mind wandering when crashing through the last. 13-8 favourite for the mares novice, 6-1 for the supreme novice. Again, no one no bet, so if it doesn't run, you'll get your money back. Well, 13-8 favourite for the mares novice hurdle. That's always seemingly been the target.
Yeah, I think so. And I think, as Joel mentioned, as we speak, the Seven Barrows media day is going on, and I've seen a tweet saying, Nicky said you've only got to look at the market to figure out where she'll probably go. So it seems to be alluding to the mares novice. And I think it would be more like Nicky Henderson to take the more obvious, safer route than to chuck her into the Supreme, which is just wide open and more competitive. So, if you can go and get a festival winner in the mares novice, why not? And why rush anything with this horse as well? So I think the right favourite, very, very impressive. One they've definitely been waiting for a long time. And so have I. There's been a few kind of comments about this horse come out early on in the season. And I think she was a non-runner both at Cheltenham and at Newbury because of ground. So things haven't happened as quickly as they'd have liked. But she was very, very impressive, the way she quickened up and travelled. So for me, a strong favourite. I think she'll go there. Could have a crack in the Supreme, but why bother when you can go and have the mares novice sewn up?
Yeah, she's impressive, John, because she was up in the van just behind the two leaders who wilted in the straight. They got a decent pace, and she just kept it up, and it was one of the rags out of the back who chased her out.
Yeah, I was really, really impressed. Beat the geldings on the bridle and that one little mistake at the last. I think wearing double nap material here, both of these prices will be so much shorter. They're probably both odds on the day. Delta Work for Frankie and Lucia. I'm still surprised that we're 13-8 Lucia. When you look at other horses that have been cut, I think 13-8 in the double with Delta Work. What would that double pay? What's Lucia now? 11-10.
Don't forget our boy Mighty Potter, Joel. That's the treble.
Yeah. Well, I need to put somebody back on the list because I've taken Aloho off. So, and Facel Vega. So the new nap double, the bankers, Delta Work, I think is phenomenal. And if you want to shove in Mighty Potter there for Frankie, get us off to a nice little flyer. Put that bet on. Forget about it.
4-1 the double, Chia and Delta Work, if you fancy that. Just review the rest of Newbury as well. Full and Savola, halved in price for the Champion Chase after retaining his game. Spirit Crown, maybe could even switch the Ryanair. He's in both. Joel?
Could switch. At this point, my head was hurting. I'd looked at everything that we need to look at. Start getting into double entries and whatever. And so I didn't really have a lot of opinion. I don't know if Frankie has.
Bizarre race that in Newbury. None of Nichols ran well. He had 6 or 7 favourites on the day, and none of them really ran a race. But that leaves everyone scratching their heads, doesn't it? What was beaten 30 odd lengths or behind Grenadine in the Tingle Creek, was it? And then comes out and wins. Bizarre race. I know Venetia's, got to hit a bit of form, and maybe her horses were out of form. That's why we haven't seen him run that well. But not going to win a champion chase, in my opinion.
He loves
Be
Newbury.
very, very surprised.
He loves Newbury, as does Zanza, of course, who won the
Oh,
Diamond
yeah.
Chase. He's got no
Yeah.
Cheltenham entries, though. But yeah, I mean, he's already turned up. Probably go back to Newbury, even Aintree maybe. But it probably says more about the likes of Eldorado and Hitman Joel. Hitman Joel.
Yeah, Hitman. And I took the kids to football on Saturday. I brought them back and watched the opening show, as it's called now. I always call it Morning Line. Watched the opening show. Megan Nichols on there as well, and she's obviously very pro her dad's horses. And she said something really interesting, just saying that she wasn't particularly convinced about Hitman. And I wouldn't necessarily trust him. And she went, so I'm going Eldorado Alden. I was like, yes, so am I. So's Frankie. And
so is everyone.
Yeah, so is everyone.
I think the pair of them really probably went a little bit too hard early on, and neither of them finished the race. It was a frustrating one. It was a frustrating day's racing Saturday. It was a bizarre day's racing.
I think
Newbury anyway.
I think as far as goes, is it normally around the Dublin Racing Festival that his form goes out the window a little because of I don't know if it's the vaccination, whatever it is, but he tends to just go a little bit random, this time of year. Hitman did have an entry, didn't he, for Saturday? But I think
we'll be taking that. Got a pick 3, haven't they?
Yeah. So I mean, again, Hitman still is up there with a head scratcher. Saw him at Haydock was brilliant, but did what he had to do in that 4-runner race.
Paul Nicholls did say on the preview at Newbury before racing started, he said, we're trying to find out if Hitman is as good as we think he might be, and if he doesn't win this race, then maybe he's not and is probably destined for handicap. So that might have been his last hurrah at having a crack at top level, and they might get him handicapping.
Interesting to see where he goes next then. That would be tough off that mark, wouldn't it? Right, just quickly, 3 races in Ireland I want to wrap up at. The 10 up novice chase yesterday, Churchstone Warrior and Marlin Mission, both 6-1 for the National Chase. I think that's their only entries as well. I do like Marlin Mission. I really was disappointed he got beat yesterday, especially how Churchstone Warrior took most of the fences with him. So it was a little bit disappointing he got beat, Joel.
Yeah, it was his 7th last year in the Ablett Bartlett, I think. I was making some notes like Churchman's Warrior, beaten by a Devil's Coachman. He was smashed by Galliard de Menil, Goffer, beaten half a length by Bron. Was that Willie's 3,000th winner or something? Yeah. 7.5 lengths behind Jerry Colomb. Look, he jumps right, and you can't be doing that at Cheltenham. He's yet to race in England, but I really liked the second who was staying on. Wasn't it? Was it half a length behind? I think I'm with Matt here. Mission for me will be the one to take out of that race, even though it finished second. If I'm talking, out my backside, but
no, I was a little bit disappointed. He did finish second, but going up another 3 furlongs in trip, he does nothing but gallop. He did it over here. I think he won the River Donny as well, Frankie.
Yeah, I agree. Marlin Mission would be the one to take out the race. John McConnell knows how to get him right for Cheltenham. This horse has gone around Cheltenham a few times, like John mentioned. 7th in the Albert Bartlett is probably not the best performance, but it's gone round Cheltenham before. At least he stays. He will definitely stay going, up another couple of furlongs, and he does get better this time of year. If you look at, I know that he hasn't got a whole lot of racing, but seems to start off his season quite quietly around Christmas time, and then will be primed for Cheltenham. So yeah, Marlin Mission wants to take out the race for me. Out the pair of them.
Right, couple as well. In the first on Saturday, Sir Alan won the juvenile hurdle as it was. There's a strong Beatles trial. Band of Outlaws, Aramax, Brazil all won this race en route to winning the Fred Winter. I was watching the markets in the morning. It was funny. As soon as one gambled on in the race, it moved in the Boodles as well. It was like the massive correlation. Sir Alan came out on top, 9-1 from 28 now, but I wouldn't discard any of those that were in behind, Joel.
No, the second horse, I was watching the market as well. I really should get something to do. We shouldn't have over a weekend instead of watching markets like this. I think it was 12s into 11-2 with a brilliant Danny Mullins on for Thomas Mullins, and only got beaten a length. I know very little, and I hate to say that about the jock AP Ryan, amateur, presume, £7 for Andy Slattery. Again, it's one of those ones where you did what you had to do. But the money was right for that horse in second, wasn't it? If when you think about it, I know it's attached to a Mullins, not the one you'd think. Sir Alan did what he had to do, but the money was right for the second horse, and that's the one that I would take out of that.
Yeah, Morning Soldier. Frankie?
Follow the cash for these handicaps. Follow the cash, follow the whispers. Well, we'll be having a look, won't we, come next week when we get all the weights come out.
Yeah, the entries 21st, a week Tuesday, yeah.
Week Tuesday, yeah. So I'm looking forward to that. I do enjoy having a proper delve into the handicap weights, but there is part of the game is having a look where the cash goes and taking it on board, because it's not always wrong this time of year.
Phoenix Way entered at Ascot on Saturday. I'll leave you with that as well. Just the final one to talk about for the weekend.
Move on.
Billaway, 1, 2 to 7, few mistakes. 6 to 1 from 8 to 1 to retain his title in the Fox Hunters, Frankie.
Yeah, didn't he come battling back up the hill to win it? Was it last year or was it the year before?
Beat Wing Leader, yeah. It still hurts.
Yeah. I felt that in your voice then. Yeah, I mean, he's won it a couple of times, hasn't he? And it's, this will be the target all year. I don't think the weekend tells you a whole lot, really. Just that he's fit and is going to go and have another crack. I don't think it gives you much more clues. I think you're probably better off spending your time looking at the other horses in there, which I haven't done a great job of yet. But what price is he now? 15 to 2, you said?
Yeah, 15 to 2, yeah.
Well, is it David Christie who's got the top 3 in the market? Is it Vorsler, Wing Leader, and Ferns Lock?
Yeah, but I don't think Ferns Lock is going to go, is it? That's the U kid on the block.
Because I've got my little marks next to Ferns Lock, because he absolutely smashed Billaway at that race in Ireland. But in there, of course, you've got the biggest clue of this, and people are not going to look at this race until the day, I would have thought. But it just depends which one David Maxwell's going to ride: Cat Tiger or Bob and Co. You know what I mean? It's like Townend. It's like Willie. It's like Ruby. Nice, wasn't it? Not having at the weekend. Just the one bad mistake. What price is Storyteller now? I put that up at 7 to 1 about 6 months ago.
Yeah, well, he got beaten a point to point, didn't he?
Yeah, so I think he's about 100 to 1 and drifting.
You did put him up right at the beginning.
Yeah. It was a really early selection, 7 to 1. Go on, keep going down and down.
14s. Yeah. 14s.
Thank you.
Yeah. But
got your value at least, Joel.
Oh yeah. I've had some belted anti-post bets this year, I'll tell you.
Yeah. Oh dear. Right. So what we take from this weekend then? Not to be worried about Jonbon.
Not worried about Jonbon. Impressed with Lucia. Should win the Mares Novice. And Hunter's Yarn is exciting for the Supreme, but who knows what's going to win that? Still, there's still a part of me that fancies High Definition. Just as an each way better, the chance he jumps him and can win. But yeah, for me, Jonbon, don't panic. Lucia, very impressive.
Joel?
Jonbon, Lucia goes into the NAP selection. Zanza, only back in when he goes to Newbury. That was so obvious, wasn't it, when you look at it? 5 from 5 at Newbury, dog everywhere else. Right? So I ain't going to run at Cheltenham or Aintree. Just back this horse blind at Newbury. But Lucia, really, really impressed with. Blazing Khal, impressed with. Bookies overreacted, as John McCruit would say. They're running scared. I don't think they're running scared. I just think they're trying to, there'll be people out there that go, I was so impressed by that horse, but I wouldn't be taking the 5 to 2. It's an overreaction. But Jonbon, if you've got a ticket for Jonbon and you've been with us from the start, a bit like Edward Stone, don't worry. Everything's going to be fine.
Everything's going to be all right, as they say in the song.
Yeah.
Right then. So on Friday, we'll look ahead to the weekend action. It's the Ascot Chase Ryanair clues there, the Betfred Grand National Trial, but still Cheltenham clues, and like the Rendlesham at Haydock, Garran Park in Ireland as well. These boys will be keeping an eye on tipping up Phoenix Way. Hopefully not going to blow his handicap mark ahead of the festival. And they'll be back on Monday to review all of that action as well and look at some more of the 28 Cheltenham Festival races, of which right now here at Betfred, we are non-runner, no bet on. So if you have a bet on any horse at Cheltenham and it doesn't line up in that race, you will get your money back. It is that simple. So make sure you join us Friday for the weekend tips, and this time next week as well, we'll be reflecting on all the weekend action.
One more thing, Matt, before you go.
Yeah.
KRLN out the back, handicap over in England. That everyone thinks he wants to win an 87 grand race. Mark drops down straight to Cheltenham.
It's a parting shot. It's a parting shot. I backed him on Saturday. He was, exactly, the green and gold. Yeah, he was awful. Is he county hurdle bound? He was fourth in the triumph. Is he county hurdle bound? A late little snippet in from Frankie. This time, we'll hopefully see you on Friday.